All right, guys and ladies, welcome back. So, last time we were together, we drew some pumpkin hot dogs, and I said that next time I saw you, we would paint those pumpkins in. And today, what we're going to talk about is how to do that. So, what if you only had these three primary colors? Well, if you only had these three primary colors, you could paint all the other colors that you needed with just these three. Now you have to have these three primary colors because these primary colors are the colors that make everything else. So if I needed to make orange, which two of these colors, red, yellow, or blue, which two do you think I'm going to use to make orange? Well, let's look at something that's orange, right? Let's look at those pumpkins again. Does it look like it might be a little bit blue? No. Does it look like it might be a little bit yellow? Maybe. What about red? Does it maybe look like it's a little bit red? Isn't that crazy how you can see the red on that pumpkin now? And you can see the yellow on that pumpkin now? Look at that little guy right there. There's a yellow spot. If I move it back up here, look, there's some red right there. Crazy. Now we just look at the pumpkin, it looks like orange, doesn't it? Our brains are really neat that way. So yellow and red make orange. So I'm going to put the orange in the middle of the red and the yellow. Okay? So let's say I wanted to paint some green grass. Now I don't have a picture of grass, but I do have some shrubs up here. Look at those green. So does green look, does it look like there's any red in that green? Probably not. What about yellow? Does it look like there's any yellow in that green? Yeah, a little bit. What about blue? Is there any blue in that green? Look really close. Look in the shadows. Do you see where that looks like it's blue? So, if I mixed yellow and blue together, it's going to make my green for my grass. Okay? And then that only leaves one other color, and that is purple. So if you've noticed that this is starting to kind of look like the rainbow, well, that's what a color wheel kind of looks like. It's the colors of the rainbow. So if we know the rainbow, we know where this next color is going to go. So we know red, orange, yellow, green, blue. I know there's indigo, but then there's violet. And violet and purple kind of mean the same thing, okay? So I will need some purple later on or some violet later on, but right now I'm going to start with the orange because that's what we're most excited about, was that pumpkin that we drew. So in order to make orange, I have to have yellow and red. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to grab my pumpkin, and I'm going to get my little paint set here. Now, boys and girls, I know that I have orange paint there, and you probably have orange paint there, but I want you to try to not use the orange paint. I want to see you make your own orange, because what happens if you run out of orange one day, and then you don't know how to make it? So that's kind of why we're doing this. We're practicing making new colors with some colors that we already have. So I'm going to use the yellow first because yellow is lighter than the red. If I paint my whole pumpkin red, it's going to be really hard for me to make that a lighter color. But because I'm starting with the yellow, I can make yellow a little darker, okay? So I got my brush wet, and I'm just going to paint some yellow on my pumpkin, just like that. Now sometimes it's hard to paint the whole pumpkin yellow and then go back and add red to it. So I have to work on this while this yellow is still wet. So I'm going to rinse out my brush, and I'm going to get a little bit of red on my brush, and I'm just going to mix some red in with that yellow. Now, I know you guys are going to say, oh, your pumpkin just turned red. Oh, no, oh, no. Well, if my pumpkin is too red, what can I do? What can I add more of? Because I agree, that looks like a red pumpkin. So what do I have to do to make that look more orange? Exactly, I got to add more yellow, okay? So if my pumpkin is too red, I can add more yellow. Well, what if my pumpkin was too yellow? Exactly, I could add more red. So I'm just going to add a little bit, and I'm going to go back and forth until I get a color that I think it looks right, okay? So I'm looking at this right now, and I think that looks pretty good. And do you see where I have like paint, little puddles on my paper there? I'm going to take some of those paint puddles, and I'm going to paint the rest of my pumpkin with it. Because if I move my painting right now, that's just going to run all over the place anyway. So I'm going to take that puddle, and I'm going to pretend like it's my paint palette over here. And I'm just going to use some of that paint to fill this in, so I don't get a hole in my paper and it doesn't run where I don't want it to go. So I'm just going to use that orange that I made on this side of the pumpkin. I'm going to bring it over here, because now I know yellow and red make orange. Okie doke. So there's my orange pumpkin. So we talked about how to make green just a minute ago. So let me grab my other colors out of the way here. And let's see. All right, so there's my three colors. Which two did we say we were going to use to make green? Well, we already used yellow and red, right? Because that makes orange. So this time we're going to use yellow and blue because that's what makes green. Which one's lighter, the blue or the yellow? The yellow is the lighter color. That's right. So I got to start with the yellow again. So I got to make sure my brush is really clean. And I'm going to get some yellow. I'm just kind of dabbing my brush in there. Especially if you have a paint set like me, okay, you're just going to dab it. You're not going to roll it round and round. Not like the paints we use when we're in the room. And I'm going to paint some yellow grass below that line. And then just like my pumpkin, I can't really paint all of the yellow at once and then expect it to be dry and waiting on me. So I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to get just a little bit of blue. Just a little bit, boys and girls, because if you use too much, it's going to make your grass blue. So I'm just going to use just a tiny bit, just barely any. And I'm just going to make a few little dots. Maybe one more, maybe two more. And that's just going to start to spread out. And I'm going to wash my brush out a little bit. And I'm just going to take those dots, and I'm going to mix those dots into my yellow. It's already a little green, but it's still a little bit too yellow. So I like my green to be a little greener than that. So I'm going to take a little bit more blue, and I'm going to do a few more dots. And then I'm just going to kind of mix those in. And now that's starting to look like a pretty good green. Still a little bit light. I might have to do a little more. There we go. That's pretty good. So, let's see here. There we go. So I'm going to go over here on this side and do some yellow. Right there. That's me rinsing out my brush. Get some more blue. I'm just going to mix that in. Bring it down here. I'm just going to bring it over. There we go. There. I think that's pretty good green. I'm kind of happy with that. You know, I guess I could put a little bit more blue in it, but maybe that's going to be a shadow. I don't know. Maybe there's a little shadow over here behind my pumpkin. Did you guys notice when we were painting the pumpkin how the our black lines helped our paint to stay put? It didn't run all over the place. And that's why I like to use crayon when we paint, or oil pastels when we paint, because it kind of acts like a border and it won't let the paint cross over unless you want it to. So it's kind of nice that way. All right, so the last two colors we're going to use are the red and the blue. And those are the two that are going to make our purple sky. Why are we painting a purple sky? Well, because we want our sky to look like it's almost nighttime. And I also want you to practice making purple or violet. So I'm going to start with some red for that. So I'm going to get some red on my brush. Nice little decent amount there. And I'm going to paint my sky with some red. I'm going to be honest with you, boys and girls. I'm not used to mixing colors with these paints. I'm used to mixing colors with our other paints that we use in the room all the time. So I am a little nervous about how this purple is going to turn out. I'm going to be honest. So I'm trying to be real careful. I don't want to get it on my pumpkin. I want to get it right up next to my pumpkin. So there it is. There's my red. So here we go. Let's see what happens. Take a little bit of blue. And I'm going to stir that in. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, happy art teacher. There we go. That's kind of nice. That's kind of cool. I like that. All right, so when you mix your colors, if your sky looks like there's too much red, what can you add more of? Blue, exactly. And mine looks a little too red still, so I'm going to put a little more blue in it. For me, I want it to be more of a purpley purple, so not a reddish purple. So I'm going to add some more blue to it to make it more of a deeper violet color. Rinse my brush. I almost stuck my dirty brush back in my paints. There we go. Don't want to do that. So there we go. So now over here, my sky is starting to look like it's blue. It's starting to look like blue skies. I don't want blue skies over here. So if my sky is too blue, I have to add more, what? Red, exactly. So I'm just going to stir that up in there. So now, I think that looks like it's too much red now. So now I'm going to have to go back and add a little more blue. So it's all about going back and forth. If it looks too blue, add more red. If it looks too red, add more blue. And then one of these times, you're going to get your measurements just right, and you're going to go, oh yeah, I love that purple. That's perfect. And you're going to love your purple sky. So it's just a matter of playing with those colors, going back and forth between the red and the blue. Or if you're doing grass, between the yellow and the blue. Or if you're doing your pumpkin, between the red and the yellow, until the color looks right to you. Okay? Because that's the person I'm trying to impress, okay, is you. If you're happy with the way it looks, then I'm going to be happy with the way it looks. So, there we go. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to stop that one right there. And let me see if I can move this back here so you can kind of see what mine looks like. So there we go. There's my purple sky and my green grass and my orange pumpkin. So I can't wait to see pictures of yours too. So get the grown-up at home to help you take a picture of that, and you can send it to me in an email, and I will be glad to tell you what I think about your pumpkins. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you later. Bye guys. Bye ladies.